So when the original Manhattan by Roja Parfum was announced, I immediately went on the website because they were numbered from 1 to 100, and I actually spent $1,000 for a bottle because I just love the whole concept of it. The Art Deco fashion it's inspired by, that Prohibition jazz age with, speakeasies and flapper fashion. And I just love everything about that decade in our nation's history. And now we have the Eau de Parfum. And of course, I purchased the original version. I knew I had to acquire this eventually as well. So today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the brand new Manhattan by Roja Parfum. This came out towards the tail end of last year, 2022. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on the smell, performance, and all that good stuff. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on the brand new Manhattan Eau de Parfum by Roja Parfum, and I give you my thoughts on the smell, the performance, longevity, projection, comparison, so on and so forth, I do want to start things off by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell icon so you could be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or if you took something of value from today's episode. It would really mean a lot to me. Now, the thing that I really love about the original Manhattan, which has, the black label on the front as opposed to the white one, is it's very warm, it's rich, it's spicy, it's ambery, it has a tobacco-like quality. It's just an amazing, amazing fragrance, perfect for the colder weather. And of course, with it being so expensive and me having a numbered bottle from a special edition, I am wearing it quite sparingly. Well, here we have one that is not numbered or limited in any way. So this one is Eau de Parfum Manhattan, and you look at the note breakdown, it has an amazing sounding note breakdown. The pine, the tobacco, cloves, cinnamon, the vanilla, the spices. Of course, you do have some brighter ingredients in the opening, and you also have a few floral ingredients as well, even though I don't think like the rose or the violet or some of these floral ingredients have as much of a presence. In any case, I'm excited to talk to you about the smell. Let's start things off with a quick look at the presentation. So right in the opening of this fragrance, you are going to get a blend, and I think it's a very harmonious blend of spicy, sweet, and tobacco, with a touch of earthy finding its way cleverly in there as well. Now, what do I mean by that? You smell this fragrance, you have this really nice counterbalance of pine and patchouli. Now, patchouli for me can be very bitter or it can smell like chocolate. I get neither in this fragrance, but I do get this earthy density about it. Not quite as buoyant as some of the other ingredients. Actually, it takes a while before you can perceive that there's enough of that, verdant quality in this fragrance, but the pine I get right away. And there's a lot of fragrances out there that kind of have this pine resin or pine aroma to them, and they smell fantastic. Redolessence by Tom Ford, for example, is one of my favorites. However, I do think that the green elements are secondary to that spicy tobacco that you get in here. Now, the tobacco, it's realistic, it's organic, it's rich, and it smells like pipe tobacco. It's very high quality. It's not a very loose, leafy, herbal tobacco. There are some fragrances like that on the market, Tabaron by Creed being one of them, and I'm actually not a fan of that type of a tobacco unless it's something like Versace's The Dreamer. There is something about that fragrance that I really enjoy, but I tend to prefer some of the darker, denser, richer, spicier, and even like cherry moistened type of a tobacco aromas. And I'm not getting cherry from this one per se. I know there's also heliotrope in there. So heliotrope is said to give off an almond-like aroma, and I'm getting maybe a touch of that, but it's not done too heavily. In terms of the sweetness that I'm getting from this fragrance, I think the sweetness is really exuded from notes like vanilla and the warm resins that are in here, and certainly I'm getting this sort of benzoin vanilla combination. Not too strong. I don't think it takes away any of that stage light, if you will, from the tobacco. The tobacco is done quite beautifully in here. You do have cinnamon, you also have cloves. Thankfully, in my opinion, the cinnamon aroma is a little bit stronger than the cloves because an overdose of eugenol can just kind of remind you of a dentist's office, I suppose. That's not what's happening in here. This fragrance is elegant, eloquent. It expresses itself quite beautifully on the skin. It's very luxurious. It has this, you know, very upscale, refined, and poised demeanor about it that I think is done so beautifully. And it, of course, reminds me a lot of the original Manhattan by Roja Parfums. However, I always found that the original Manhattan was closer in style and in overall vibe and ambiance to fragrances like Wajan by Parfum de Marly, Angel Share by Kilian Paris, Ambre Narguilé by Hermes, whereas this one I think is a little bit closer to fragrances like Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. But again, you know, a Roja fragrance is a Roja fragrance, right? You smell it and there's just something about that signature or trademark DNA where you can tell this is something composed by Roja Dove. Never spare any expenses when it comes to quality and the preciousness of the raw materials, and that's just been my experience through and through. I love fragrances like Diaghilev, and of course there's also Harrods and Burlington and Creation-y, and all of those fragrances smell very upscale, very elegant, very refined, and I would just add this one to the list. A beautiful, slightly sweet and earthy, spicy tobacco fragrance to die for. Check it out if you get the chance. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, like I said about the other fragrances by Roja Parfum, there is a sort of trademark or signature DNA about it, and this is precisely the type of smell or fragrance that I enjoy wearing in the colder weather. I think it's very warm, very accessible. Yes, there's also coconut and there's some other ingredients in here. There's bergamot, there's a ton of other stuff, but I really try to focus the majority of this review on the ingredients that are more prominent to my nose, right? If I were to go over every single ingredient, I think I'd be wasting a considerable amount of time because some of them I don't get as prominently as I do some other ingredients. Longevity on this one is a solid 8 hours on my skin. In terms of the projection, did great for the first hour of application. It radiated slightly beyond an arm's length. Elbows length scent, right around hour 5, skin scent right around hour 8 or 9. In terms of the versatility, perfectly unisex. I think some people out there might argue that it leans a little bit masculine on account of the tobacco and the pine and the spices, but I think it's perfectly unisex. You know, these are just recommendations at the end of the day. Wear what you love and wear what makes you happy without restriction. I think in terms of seasons, great for the colder weather, fall and winter. I think in terms of scenarios, better for formal scenarios as opposed to casual scenarios, you know, especially with the price tag and the presentation and the overall vibe, the quality of the ingredients. It just screams formality to me. And I think this one will appeal to somebody who's a little bit older, a little bit more sophisticated, more mature, and has more experience with niche fragrances. And in terms of the presentation, what's better than a Roja Parfum presentation with the jewels and the you know, bedazzled cap and the metal plaque on the front? Everything about it is just beautiful. My final verdict on this fragrance is it is an amazing release by Roja Parfum, and I'm really glad that the Eau de Parfum is out now, especially for those wishing to try a different concentration. And this one is not limited edition, so you know, I just have the comfort of knowing that as soon as this one runs out, I'll just purchase a new one. No big deal. I love it that much. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell icon so you could be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.